Yo, hey Nesta, what's up, man? It's about that time. What's up, everyone? All right. Now, if I could just get my tech to stop being annoying. Let's see. It is still not happy with me that I abandoned it for a week. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Technology definitely has personalities. They do not all operate the same, even when they're running the same software. Let's get started. What's up, guys? By the way, I was looking at something earlier just before the stream, and because I did that big video on YouTube about Hexstrike, and I do want to play with Hexstrike. It's still in a really rough position right now, so I was just checking it before the stream to see what was going on with it. It's got hey Frackery, what's up, man? It's got a lot of refactoring and updates in the pipeline. Because I've been watching the Discord. I know they're working on it right now. When it gets a little bit more polished, I am going to spin it up, and we'll probably wrap it into a LangGraph agent and just take it for a spin. We'll make like a real basic agent on it. Because I do want to go at least test it out. Hey, Chris, what's up, dude? Yep, guys, I hope everybody had a really good Sunday today. I actually took my wife to go see a musical. That's her big thing. She loves musicals. Went and saw The Wiz, and it looked like something straight out of the 70s. And sure enough, she looked up, I think it was a musical that debuted like in 78. And it's basically like, for lack of a better description, what is it? What's this? Wizard of Oz. Like basically the black version of Wizard of Oz. And so lots of cool dancing in it. Just, I didn't like the music. They did really cool stuff with the set. Overall, it was a decent show. All right, let's see. You were a professional actor for many years? Oh, dang, man. Dude, I thought the singers were good. The choreography was great. The set design was cool. The only downside to it was I didn't like the songs themselves. Not anything particular about the songs. Like, they just didn't resonate with me in any particular way. And so that was like the biggest detractor from it. That and their sound guy didn't do a good job balancing the audio. So it was hard to hear the lyrics. Broke my back, lost my job, but tomorrow's the Hacker movie anniversary, so I'm good. Dude, I hope you get to feeling better, man. I've had one of those years too. This coming up Tuesday is going to be a hard day for me. Let's see. I had a rough weekend because my VM home lab basically stopped connecting to the internet, so I scrapped it and I'm starting over after 2 days of attempted troubleshooting. Oof. Oh, that's rough. I was thinking about something actually as I was coming through this right here. Is basically making this into something else real fast. I was thinking about just putting this into a function so we can just reuse it. Yeah, I like that idea. Hang on. I'm going to do something up here real quick. Let's just go make ourselves a new function real quick. Let's call this output format. So one thing that we were working on last night was we need to take all this information and go get it kind of set up. So I was thinking I'm going to bust it out into a function and then we'll work on it. Let's see. Dude, Oreo, this year has definitely, I mean, obviously you guys know everything I've been going through, and it really all kind of kicked off on what will be on Tuesday, which is going to be the 1 year, the 1 year date since my sister passed away. And then it's just been crazy ever since then. Let's see. Officially part of the community now, frustrated with tech for 2 days straight. Bro, you've seen me on stream, man. I fought just the browser agent on here. I think we fought that thing for 3 or 4 months, just trying different solutions and figuring out and messing with it. So sometimes it's just how it rolls. So I'm excited to see the Python madness actually function when you test it one of these days. Oh, actually, speaking of tests, thank you. I forgot to do something before the stream started. Let's see if I can find it. I forgot to turn on the box. Start machine. There we go. Because we'll have to go get a new pickle. I think after I finish this machine here, I'm going to go through and actually maybe stand up one that I can just run in the home lab so I don't have to deal with the VPN and everything. Yeah. Yeah, Frackery, I wish I could say that was the only thing that happened this past year, but dude, it's been a hard year. technically, I guess you could say it really started in July whenever my dog died. And then, but really, I'm kind of counting it like from when my sister passed away, which is and that's coming up on Tuesday. So, you think about like small divine interventions. Well, I couldn't because I had stuff to take care of today because of this show. I didn't get to go spend a lot of time with my mom today. Usually I would do that on Sundays. And so instead, I was planning to come see her tomorrow. Well, I can't go see her tomorrow. I start physical therapy tomorrow. So then I was like, okay, great. Well, we already moved the news stream to Wednesdays. I can go see her Tuesday and then take my sons over there and she can see them. She loves them. And I was like, and then it dawned on me earlier today. I was like, Tuesday's the 1 year anniversary. I was like, okay, minor divine intervention going on there. Thanks, Frackery, man. Dude, it's been over the last year. My sister passed away in September. My wife's grandmother passed away in October. One of my best friend's dads passed away in February. My newborn son passed away in March, and then my dad passed away in May. So, just to spice up the mix a little bit more, I blew out 2 discs in my back in January. So, it's been a hell of a year. All right, let's do this. Let's grab the IP address here real fast. Let's get this going real quick here. So this might seem kind of weird because what I'm going to do is, for anybody who doesn't know, we're going to basically do a quick test run of this here. And it actually doesn't matter. It's supposed to fail at the exploit agent. That's fine, because what we're going to do is... actually, hang on. Before I do this, comment this out and save it. And make sure all this code hot patches in. Okay, looks like it did. So now, this way we'll have our testing data set for whenever we want to actually start this up. Yeah, broken back, brothers. Dude, I didn't even do it in a cool way. I hopped off of a... thank you, dear. My sock brought me my water. But it's okay. I'm good for now, because I got my Choco. I just jumped off the back of a pickup. And it was like a 3.5-foot drop, 3-foot drop, really. And just... I am hydrated.
Get hydrated better.
I am hydrated better. And so that little impact though of jumping off the truck just completely supernovaed a disc in my back. Wasn't fun. Let's see. Okay. I need to actually let this run for just a second. I needed to go error out on the exploit agent, and then I can go uncomment that code and work on it. Yeah. Abundance of hashtags, that's right. I think he's got one on here. He used to. I think it used to say grind on the can. They've changed the can a couple times over the last few years. I did go check and see if they still have the sour apple one, because I liked that one. And it used to be called sour apple sniper, and that was the one I really liked. All right, what do we got going on here real fast? Let's see. Let us see real fast here. Oh, it's doing the Go Buster. Okay, perfect. Once it finishes Go Buster, it should get to the exploitation agent. And then actually we can stop the run at that point. It just needs to, here on the graph, you can see it went into the enum agent. Now it's all the way over here. Or sorry, it went into the recon agent, then enum. Once it goes into the exploitation agent, it's going to... Actually, it already loads up the first part there, so we can actually cancel it here. Because that's going to update our target pickle. And then we can actually start working on this stuff again. All right, so we need to pass in the results. So we'll take in results and Oh, yeah, we do need to do that, don't we? I need to pass in agent messages also in here. I don't know if there's a good way to pass those by reference, though. So there's two types of, well, this was a C calling convention, and what is it? Python kind of does the same thing where you can either pass by copy when you enter a function or pass by reference. So a pass by copy means you literally take a copy of the variable of the data and you send it over to the function. Pass by reference means you're just passing the memory pointer to the object. And there's a way to control that in C. I don't know if there's actually a way to control that in Python, though. So let me think about how I want to do this and how I'm going to return this. Actually, probably what I'll do here is... Yeah, actually, we'll just do a return real fast. So we're going to return. We'll do an object real quick. We'll call this first one just our output. Make it real simple. And then for the other one, call this our agent messages. Just like that. And then when we call this function, we'll just bust out those variables. First time I messed up my back a few years ago, I stepped out of bed wrong and bulged 2 lower discs. Oh. Apparently I had a disc bulging in my back fracture and I didn't even know it. It had just healed up and I had just compensated for it. Found that out when I did the MRI for the big damage. Let's see. I've tried Death Wish a couple times, Oreo, and I didn't find anything stupendously appealing about it. So, not to besmirch it any, it's just I didn't find anything fantastical about it. Wait, Jocko has coffee now? No way. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Results. Taking agent messages. We're going to return some new agent messages. Actually, what we could do is probably take this agent messages and just move it up out of the browser wrapper scope here. Yeah, let's do that. No, I think I'm going to leave it like that for now. Hey, Kenny, what's up, man? Dude, the project's coming along pretty decently right now. We've got it to where we're passing everything off over to the first specialty agent, which is a web browser, and it's handing it off. We're running into a different problem now, but it's not related to the agent specifically. It just has to do with a little bit of the wording that the agent didn't understand how to handle one of the tasks. So if we look at what the graph looks like here, what's the exploit agent? Here we go. So for these guys right here, let me drag that over. This is like the main execution loop. Once it decides what type of exploit to do, it kind of just runs through this loop, executing all the steps. So the step planner plans out the steps. The processor says, okay, how am I going to handle this? Either it can call a tool directly to do it, or it can call a special agent over here to handle that task, or for whatever that step is in there. And then it comes through and says, okay, we're going to check it. The revisor says if it passed or not, and then it sends it back up here to go to the next step. However, if the step processor here cannot decide on a tool or a special agent to call, then it doesn't know how to route it here. So these dashed lines right here, that indicates it's a conditional jump. So it has to match one of two criteria to decide if it's going to go to this node or this node in the routing. The problem is there's no third option where it says there was no tool call or there was no special agent call. So it just crashes out on it. So trying to kind of finesse it a little bit to get it to realize that, hey, you can do this stuff that you need to do through the agent browser. So that's what we're doing, is we're just kind of tinkering with a little bit of its understanding for all the tools that it can pull. But also one of the issues is some of the output is kind of janky. So we're fixing that real quick here. Let's see. Output format. So we're going to set up this function here. We're going to return an output and an agent messages. Okay. Yeah, let me drag this over real fast. Okay. So what we're going to do here is what we're going to do is we're going to call that. So we're going to say crap, what did I call that? Our output, which ended up being our result. So yeah, we'll just do that. Output. I think I can do... Nah, I gotta remember how to do this in Python. Let's see. Python... I think it's destructuring. Destructure dictionary? Actually, I think I just do a destructure of a list, and then I can just return those 2 items in there. That'll be simpler. Let's see. X, Y, my dictionary. X would be name. Y would be age. Okay, so that's not what we want. I thought we could do that with a list. Hey, Dora, what's up? Kratos. Not quite. Although I do have a boy. I have 2 boys. Almost like pattern matching? Yeah, pretty much. So what, in fact, I can show you because we have the trace from it from last time in here. So what's happening is it comes over to the reviser, and the reviser, I think, said it passed. Yeah, it validated, but it comes over to the step processor here. And the problem is when it looks at it, notice how there's no tool call in here. And so what happens is it basically panics out everything in here. So every time the step processor is called, right, like in this case, we have some kind of tool call that comes back. In this case, it's the special agent caller, which is basically a wrapper function. And then, let's see, for this one, in the previous one, we tell it, the task is, hey, it has to get a PHP web shell. Okay, cool. So it calls our get PHP web shell. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So in this case, it would route this one here over to the tool node. The other one, when it called the special agent down here, like this, it's going to do the special agent caller, just like this. So it has one of 2 paths, but if it doesn't return either of these options, it just crashes out on us. Let's see. I hate when grapes have seeds in them. Those are the original grapes, though. The seedless grapes are kind of weird. Let's see. That's a tuple. Can we just destructure the list, though? I'm trying to remember. So this would assign 5 to X and Y to 11. And then this is going to be our results, and then our agent messages here. Now the difference is this is going to return a dictionary, so we want to change this function real quick. That's going to be easy enough though, because we're just going to make it return us a list here. Just like so. Just like that. So now when it returns, that should go into the correct spot. Actually, I want to test this out, just to make sure I understand this correctly. Let me see. So I already have a list here. So if I do x, y equals list. Okay, so we need a couple other ones. So we'll do z and I in here for unpacking. You got 4. You should. I mean, that worked. That worked just fine. What if I did this as a tuple? Takes the tuple just fine. It just doesn't take a list? Seems like a flaw. Underscore to catch the rest. I probably could do that. This one's just a weird case because it already had this list in here, so that's what I was looking at. But surely there has to be a way to destructure the list in here. Let's see. So I don't want to do it with a for loop. What I want to do is just do a straight assignment here. So li is a variable. It's this list right here. But it doesn't like that. I think there's something I've got to expand this out with. Yeah, in this case, we could do it with a tail here, but notice how they're directly passing in the list. This is interesting. I figured you could do this, right? But it's doing is it's grabbing the first value here, and then all the rest, since you have the star operator, is grabbing the rest of the values. I didn't actually realize you could do this in reverse too. So you could tell it, grab everything except the last one, right? And drop it in like this. That's kind of interesting. Same thing with the middle. Do not collect $200 for passing because we're not programming in Go. That's right. Go has its own special set of issues to it. Even though I don't hate Go, I just haven't taken the time to become proficient in it. Let's see. I know there's another way to do this. See, here's the kicker is all these guys are doing it like this. I like make it a damn list option here. I kind of want to try it. I mean, let's see. I think there's a Python function for this. So Python expand list items, maybe. Fruits extend cars. So what will this do? Adds the specified list elements or any interval to the end of the current list. Oh. Interesting. I mean, there's also append in there. Well, append would add it. That would be a little bit different. Let me try something here. Let's see. So I could just return those two out of there. I'm going to try that. We'll see if it falls on its face. So what we have here is we got that invoke for it. So there's our agent messages. There's our result. It comes through. Just like so. This part should all be kind of taken out now because we moved that. Actually, come to think of it, this needs to move up, and we need to uncomment that. There we go. So what I would do now is we'll have our output, we'll have our agent messages. That'll all be processed. And then we essentially want to do the exact same thing down here. I believe we don't need this part right here anymore. I'm going to comment that out for now. And then now let's go ahead and run it, because what we can do now with everything up and running is we can just run the exploitation agent by itself. Boom. All right, go forth and exploit. Let's see what happens. Hopefully what will happen now is we changed a little bit of the wording in how the agent was running. when it comes back up, hopefully the step processor will realize it can upload that file directly to it. All right, so if it's on the special agent node, it's calling the browser right now. Oh, you know what? I need to check something real fast. After this completes, I need to go check the Docker containers and make sure the containers aren't just left in limbo. Okay, so we got the same error over here. Not necessarily such a big deal, because I think it's going to be issue with the prompting we're going to have to go fix. But I got to check something real quick. Oh yeah, that was what I was afraid of. Look at all those. Look at all those. All those that are still running. Whoops. All right, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this. Let's see, I think the delimiter is just a space, and I think that looks like it's field... I don't know, we'll try 10. Nope. Field 9. Field 8. Field 7. That is not right. What I need to do is get a list of where each of these kind of lives. I need that very last one in there. Maybe 10 actually wasn't enough. Let's try like 15. Nope, that ain't right. Let me see, where are we looking at for this? Nope, we need to go back up. 17, 18. Killing me, Smalls. 2. Jeez, come on, man. Oh, they're all not going to be the same. Damn it. What if I can do that, actually? Let's try something real quick. What I want to do is I want to stop all these containers. So what we'll do is we'll say docker stop browser start. Damn it. Because look at all these ones we've gotten here. So we got, let's see, 4. I just wanted to stop all. Actually, can I tell it to stop all? I have tried this before. I can't. Damn it. That's alright. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make it. Sorry, we're gonna fix this. There we go. So now all the Docker browsers stop. There we go. So now, if I look at what I've got running, we just have Dreadnode running, which is all this should be. So what was happening is, here, when the agent runs, it actually starts the Docker container it needs. However, the teardown process for that is not really written in here. So we'll probably have to go add that in, because I realize that is basically like a memory leak design flaw in here. But what's happening is every time we ran the agent, it was basically reusing or creating a new browser session in there. It might have been reusing it. It's not such a big deal, but that's what it was doing. So we had all these dangling Docker containers just hanging out in there. I can't tell. There. All right, so let's go see what the actual error is that came up from this one. It might say it was another out of... Yep, index out of range. And so let's go see what it was said in here. Probably said I don't have anything for uploading this. Oh, that's right. We had another issue here. The context is blank. And that was why we were going through and kind of adjusting what was happening with all this. Because what we're going to need to do is make some adjustments. So let's take a look at what the state table looked like in here. So this input is all of the state table stuff, right? So in our task, so this is an exploit task. So what happens is all of this gets broken down into steps, and those get put down into the output here. And then the steps have their own output field right here. See that? So what we're probably going to need to do is we're going to have to go change this a bit. Because what we're doing is we're dumping all the output from the actual tool call directly into it, and that's not what we want. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go modify this. We're going to use the tool name here. Let's see. So the tool name in this case, it'd be get PHP web shell diceco, and then we'd have the content of that. So we need to do a little bit of modification to the exploitation agent. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, let's go look and see what it looked like here. So it called the special agent caller and then the browser agent, which is perfect. That's what it's supposed to do. And then if we come in here, oh, what is this? It says status not found. That's weird. Hold on. Let's go double check that real quick. Yeah, there's panel. Weird. I wonder why it said it wasn't found, but that's not a big issue anyway. We see what we've got for the output here, right? Everything for browser agent. It's looking good. So now let's... I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. Where's our tool? No. Actually, not our tool. Where is it? This would be down here in this exploit step update. This is where the output from the tool node comes down here and it actually appends the update to it. Let's see. So where's our update node? Wait, this is Stinger. That's why I don't see it. There's our step planner. Where's our update? Is that it? Yeah, exploit step update. Go to the definition. Here we go. Let's see. All right, so here we go. We check it if it's a tool call right here. And then what we're doing is we append the tool output, which is not necessarily what we want. Actually, yeah, this should have been last message content. Wait, if it's the last message content, why am I getting the entire thing here? So this should be step, index, output, entire thing. Kaiju, hey man, what's going on, dude? Hey Panda, what's up? Is this the tool for hacking the NSA? Absolutely not. I am not Edward Snowden. I'm Jonathan Sunnyvale. Hacking the NSA. No, thank you. Oh, it was funny because actually during dinner tonight, I was watching an episode of Eureka with my wife, and you know, they take a lot of liberties with a lot of technical stuff, and so they just have one of their, you know, mad scientist guys just go hack the DoD in the show. And I was like, okay, I'm going to suspend a lot of disbelief on that. Let's see. So why did it say that we've got the entire thing here when really all we're doing is to grab... Oh, I know why. Because we're grabbing the content if I remember correctly, here. Let me go look at something real quick. I mean, there's the content. This should be the entire thing right here. So what we do here, this is in the step updater, where it's actually adding the stuff over to the state table, is we come through, we grab the last message, we look at it, and it says we're appending the tool call output. That's fine. Our tool output is going to be our last message content. So I guess this is the content. Is it like double content in here that we should be getting? I kind of want to test it. I'm going to see what happens with it. Because it's like it's content, like what it's doing in here. I'm going to try it. Give it a chance. All right, there we go. Let's give this another shot real quick here. New thread. Run it. Hey, Tayferu. I'm going to go with that. What's up, man? Studying cybersecurity at uni and trying to learn outside too. What do you recommend for starting to look at for free? Like, where can I get easy try hack, for example? Oh, okay. So actually a really great spot. Well, that's, oh, I guess my new code broke it because now the update is broken. There's a couple places you can do that. Volhub is one. Volhub. There we go. This is a whole bunch of CTFs that you can download and run as virtual machines in here. So here, I'll drop you a link for that one. So here's a good example. There's lots of different machines in here that you can work on. And then another one is, I can't remember what it is. I gotta remember what the name of it is. But basically, it's a collection of vulnerable Docker images. Oh, so it's different. There's two of them. There's VulnHub with an N, and then there's VulHub without the N here. So this one is a collection of Docker images that you could run and deploy for like different exploits. It's not very CTF-like, but it lets you go through and examine the exploits that are in there. And so, for example, I think if we come over to, let's find like one for Django. So if we come into Django, and let's say there's a CVE from like, let's get the latest one from 2022 here. It kind of talks about what the references are, how to get the environment set up, and how to reproduce the vulnerability, and like what you're kind of looking at. So it gives you a basic like walkthrough so you can start breaking it down and exploring it. These are two really great resources for you if you say you can't afford TryHackMe or Hack the Box. They do have some free boxes on there too. They're very basic. You can use those. But this is two resources that you can use if you've got just a little bit of compute power on your system. Especially Docker images, they're really easy to spin up. Let me do something real quick here. Boop. Okay. So I'm guessing it didn't like the destructuring there. Yeah. Hey, no worries, man. Ask away. When I put Q&A in the stream title, I 100% mean it. Feel free. If you have questions, I hopefully will have an answer, or I know some place to go find the answer. Object string does not contain an attribute. Oh, okay. Well, I guess, yeah, my code update was not kosher. So let's back that out. Boop. I'm gonna remove you real fast. Why did I wrap that like that? Let me look at something real quick over here. What was the updater here? Step update. Oh, I gotta dig back through all this crap. There we go. Yeah, I should change this. This doesn't make any sense on why I have this here. This should just be tool output. But for some reason, tool output here, I'm guessing it's reading that as a string for some reason, which is not a bad thing. I just want to get the content of it right here. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Kenny on that one, Dora. Who's your favorite? Who's my favorite SpongeBob character? Sandy. Plus, she's from Texas. So, be quite honest, SpongeBob was like after my time. In case you couldn't tell, here, from all the gray in the beard, SpongeBob was a little after my time. However, I do like Sandy. For 3 reasons. 1, squirrels are cool. 2, she's a Texan. 3, she's got the, that southern accent. Oh yeah. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. Let's see. I'm doing the ISC2, very basic, I guess, but you think it's way more to get immersive in that area? I'm trying to think what I've seen on ISC2 lately. I mean, I have my CISSP, but to be quite frank, the CISSP didn't really ever do much for me. And now the reason for that is because I have almost exclusively gone to work at places where I was referenced there by somebody who worked there. So I knew folks. My very first job out of university. So a little bit of backstory. I worked all the way through my time at university working in IT, doing a lot, basically jack of all trades there. Servers, virtualization, networking, remote administration, desktop management, you name it. But then my first job out of university, I knew a guy who worked there, applied, and that was how I got hired. Second job after that, knew a guy who worked there, applied, that's how I got hired. Third job after that, I knew a guy who knew they were looking, and he put in a good word for me. That's how I got up to that job. Current job, another coworker I used to work with basically hired me onto here. So I have just known people as I've been going through it. That's why I usually recommend everyone, if you can get to local cybersecurity meetups, particularly something like DEF CON, maybe a local 2600, B-Sides, anything like that, go to it. Get to know the folks. See what you can do to help them out. Legitimately help them out without expecting anything back. Just because it's going to give them a chance to get an idea of your skill set and what you can do. The other thing is, if you can't make it to those in-person ones, get to know people on Discords. So there's the Blaise Discord. It's pretty small, but there's lots of really great folks in there. But there's other ones in there for like maybe offensive security. There's ones for Hack the Box. There's all sorts of different types of security related Discord communities that you can get to know folks in. Every security job is, I knew a guy. Pretty much. A lot of times that's how it works, Dora. Now, I'm not saying that's how it works all the time. At my last job, I hired lots of people that didn't come in as referrals. And it's definitely a more difficult process, though, because when you're looking to hire somebody and you don't have like a character or technical reference, you have to approach them with a lot more scrutiny. Now, granted, one of those guys was the fellow that got me hired at this new place. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it definitely helps break down the barrier if you can get that kind of reference in there. All right, let's see here. I still don't know why. I'm guessing maybe because of that dangling. No, I don't know why this is. It should have destructured that content out. I don't get why it's not breaking down. I think it's registering it as a string in here. So what we could do is we could either JSON parse this and then just get the content out. I don't want to just do a straight string decat on it, because if this call ID changes from a null character in here, then that's going to bust it. I do want to get the... I got to remember how to do something in here. Because what I need is... I do need to actually structure this tool output in here. Because what we'll need is... I need a way to format that as, hey, here's the PHP web shell. What did it look like in here, actually? Let's go look at the trace again real quick. So before it calls this, what's the response from... Actually, so we could go grab the two previous messages, grab the contents out of them, and then... Because what we need is we need context for the language model to understand, hey, we already have a PHP web shell in here. And then we can start building up the context by basically taking the output... where's a good example of this? There's not a good one in here. But all the various outputs that are tracking each of the output tasks, we could track those in there for the context. Let's see. Another option is, if we come up and for the context, when we structure it, let's look at this real quick. Gotta drill down again. Drill. Dude, there's so much in here. When I start testing this against multi-network systems, it's gonna be wild how much data is gonna be in here. So if we start looking at this, we already have a task, and then we have, we have like a step, right? So the overall task here is upload a PHP web shell to the panel directory and basically get a remote code access. So instead, what we could do here is each of these steps is, hey, the step was create a PHP web shell, and then we just go grab the output from it, which would be the output from the... Why is this showing? Hold on. Oh, it's because of where we are in the transaction. It hadn't done that part yet. But anyway, that is what we could do, though, is basically just go grab that first element of that from the output and drop it in there. So we grab the step task and the output from it. The tool will just basically be for tracking in here. I think that'll work. So we essentially say, here's the task, here's the output, and we go combine all of those. We already have a step indicator, right? So then basically what we do is we loop over it. We say, hey, by the way, for all the previous steps, go grab the task, go grab the output, format them, and then throw that in as the context. Then it will be able to keep track of the conversation better. Because what's happening is when it comes down here, right, we're telling it, remember, the language model doesn't know diddly about it. You might think it's going to remember something, especially if you've used like the web UI for Claude or OpenAI. That is all, for lack of a better term, agentic or context management magic that's happening. When you actually make a language model call, it only knows what you're sending it. And then it's going to process only what you send it and send back only what it has been processing. So in this case, we told it, you need to upload a PHP web shell to the form. Well, it doesn't know where the form is. It doesn't know where the PHP shell is because we didn't fill in the context here. So this was an oversight that I didn't realize I had not fixed. So now we're going to go fix it. And then once it has the context to it, we should be able to fire this guy off. So let's see. So now what we need to do is we need... Which one is this? This is in our exploit step processor. So... I think I've already adjusted this. Yep, we're just doing the tool output here. Baller. Yep, so now what we need is, we need to come to... I can't keyboard today. The step processor, that's it. So where's our exploit step processor? I believe it's up here. Yes, no, that's the planner. Here's the processor. Yes, this guy. I should teach sometime. Actually, I have a lot of experience teaching, Dora. I taught martial arts for... I practiced martial arts for 7 years. I taught for 4 of those years when I got to like a really senior rank. And then I tutored math and physics at my university. I used to teach Sunday school at my church. I taught a course at Black Hat during Black Hat training. I did that for 4 years. And so I kind of approach what I do here on stream in that kind of same way. I'm explaining what's happening for multiple reasons. One, if I say something stupid, you damn well better believe the chat is going to let me know. You guys are going to yell at me. Two is, if somebody comes in and they're wondering what's going on, it makes it so that there's kind of a stream of consciousness and they can just kind of jump right in and go down the river with us. And the third thing is, it helps me kind of troubleshoot. If you've never heard of rubber ducky debugging, the idea is you keep a rubber ducky or something on your desk and you explain what you're doing step by step. And that's what I'm doing on the stream. And then just the process of explaining it helps you find the fault in the logic. So I kind of explore all those different ways. Learning is a lot of fun, Kenny. I'm trying to explain that to my older son, and he's kind of getting it. He's getting it a bit. He's 6, you know. He's getting it as much as a 6-year-old could. All right, here is our context. Might remove, not sure if needed. That is incorrect. This is absolutely needed. I think we can take out the target IP, though. I'm going to put in a to-do here real fast. This is absolutely needed. Let's see. So what do we have that we've broken out in here? So here's our task index. So we get our current task, we get our output. Okay, so we do have our current step in here also. Excellent. So what we'll do is we iterate from current step. Let's actually kind of spitball this real fast. So iterate from 0 to current step. Let's kind of metacode this a bit. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to concat the task and the tool or agent output. There we go. That should work perfectly. I rubber ducked my reflection in a mirror so much as schizodiagnosis is coming one way or another. Usually I look at the mirror, I'm like, oh, there's more gray in my beard. I already got rid of all the hair. I had, as part of those DEF CON trainings, not DEF CON, Black Hat, I was in Vegas for 11 days and I was getting sunburned like through my hair. I'm like, okay, you're done. If you can't even protect my scalp, you're gone. That's when I started shaving my head. I can't spell iterate either. Let's see. And then we're going to concat the task and tool output for the agent. Okay. Yo, hey Hats, what's up, dude? My favorite Fed. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Actually, we're just gonna loop over this. So for I think it's just a range command. Is that it? Range? I think it's from 0 to current step. I think I want to do this as +1 though. That's not supposed to be assigned to a function call. What? What? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Or we'll say there we go. Because I think range will return up to but not including. I gotta remember what that is. Python range. Because I believe it returns up to but not including the item here. Yeah, so it goes from 0 to 5 right there. Just like that. So we would want to do the step +1 in there, I believe. I'm not even in the US, so that makes me a legal attaché. I'd go for it. Actually, perfect. We don't even actually need the initial iterator in here. What we can do is we can just say for current step +1, just like this. And then what we're going to do is, oh, this is going to be a pain. That's okay. And the only reason it's a pain is because the state table gets really deep as we go through it. So what we want to do is we're going to say I'm going to call this iTask, and that's going to be equal to just like this. Whatever our so we already have the exploit step that we're working on right here, right? So that's going to be our exploit steps, but we're going to index this on I now. And then from our exploit steps, I got to remember what the freaking thing looks like. Oh, I got to dig through it again. No. Here we go. So this actually gets us to our exploit step. So for each of those steps, because this is basically just an array, right? So we're going to get the step task. Yeah, that's going to be our step task right there. Just like this. Not like that. There we go. So we get the step task that is going to be the task in here, and then we get the output. The output. And that's going to be the same thing here. Except this now is going to be the output. Yeah, once we get the output, very good. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add that onto the context. So we're going to do context plus equals. We'll do a little bit of format stringage here. We're going to say it's going to be the iTask. And then we'll do that with a nice little line return. There we go. And then the next thing here is going to be the I output. Yeah, once we do the I output, very good. Very good, Fräulein. I don't know why all of a sudden when I get into the coding, it's the German accent wants to come out, but it just does. There you go. I think that's actually all we need right there. So we just kind of initialize the context as a blank string. We go over all of the steps previous to the current step. Actually, I take that back because we don't want to get the current step. We want to get everything prior to the current step. So this works out perfect. We just do range for current step in here. Boop. Perfect. We index on that for the list. We pull out the step task. We pull out the output. And then we're golden. So there's our context right there. Bam! Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And now I'm going to run it. And I'm going to find out it's difficult, lemon, difficult. I actually know, believe it or not, so my family is traced back to Louisiana and to Canada for a couple generations back. Really, actually just one, because my grandmother, grandmother was Canadian, one grandmother was from Louisiana. So it's funny because I got like a double dose of French, just very diametrically opposed French. You're in Sweden? Nice. Dude, I love it that I get so many folks from across, as I call it, across the pond, right? Over across the Atlantic, that come onto the stream. It makes me really happy. All right, let's go give this a shot now. Let's see. New thread. Run it. Remember the old DEF CONs? There was a guy who started his presentations completely off topic, like showing pictures and some papers asking, raise your hand if you know what the colors on these mean, then waiting 3 seconds and saying, and that's how you spot a Fed. I didn't see that one. Oh, so you're from Georgia, but you're residing in Sweden now? Still cool, man. One thing that if I had to say I was envious of anything that a lot of the folks in the European area have and that is the exposure to various languages. The United States is so vast, you just don't get exposure to many languages. So obviously most Americans typically just speak English. So like for a size comparison, if you didn't know this, the state where I live, Texas, it's the size of Germany, and that's just one state in the United States. So the scale is huge. So you can be very well traveled inside the United States, but you've never learned a second language. Which is not true though for my wife, because my wife's family is Mexican. So she speaks Spanish. She's teaching our kids Spanish. which I think is great because it's very handy here in Texas. Hey, Shell and Tell, what's up, man? Believe it or not, there's a dialect of German in Texas. It's called Texas German. There's actually a lot of German towns here in Texas. You've got, and like, there's even a water park with the German name in here called Schlitterbahn. And so, and there's a lot of German cuisine that happens in Texas. Interesting. So the step processor threw us an error. Let's see what this error is. Yeah, you can get some pretty decent. In fact, there was a German restaurant that was across the street from where I was going to school, and they had very good schnitzel. It was so tasty. Oh, what is this? API status error. Oh, no. Okay. So this wasn't actually an error with the step processor. And we can actually see where this happened. So the error occurs right here at the last call. See this? It keeps trying to call Anthropic. Anthropic is overloaded. For some reason, it always is. So we put a mitigator in place for this where it will actually try if it gets the overload message, it actually tries it 3 times, and I think it backs off for 10 seconds between retries. But even then, if it's overloaded, it's overloaded. A German bar with cowboy hats might be peak. Let's see. There's also Amish that speak Swiss German and not Dutch. Like some think the Amish are originally from Switzerland. Actually, I've not heard any. I'd actually never heard that, Shell and Tell. I had heard folks like talking about, you know, like Pennsylvania Dutch. There's a large Amish population up in Pennsylvania. And actually, there's a very decent one here in Texas. I've been wanting to go visit them and basically volunteer to work on the farm to try and just learn some farming trade. Because eventually, there's the old joke that when you talk to people in cybersecurity, it's like, hey, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? And typically the answer is on a farm. You work in cybersecurity sometimes for so long, you're like, I want out. Just put me on a farm. All right, let me go try running this again. Because it looked like... No way. Oh. Hold on. I just noticed something in here. Look at the last tool call. Browser file upload. It passed it to the special agent, and it's trying to upload the PHP shell. No way. Hold on, let's see what it's doing here. Okay. Ford, I saw your message, but then I realized what was happening here. This is happiness. This sparks joy. All right, so we get the PHP web shell. It comes down here. It calls the browser agent to navigate to the panel. So what it's doing is it's instantiating a new browser when it does this. So it's a new Docker container. Shut up, Frozen. I know it. And then when it instantiates the new browser, it basically starts with a clean slate, right? So we do a navigate, and then we come down here. And then it calls the special agent again to do a file upload, and then a click. And then we get another file upload here for some reason. And then it returns back. And this is where we hit the overload. Ooh. It's trying. If it can get the upload to fire, ooh, mama. Daddy likes. Oh my goodness. All right, well, let me see here. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can figure out what it's doing real quick. I'm going to come to the step processor here, because in the input, I can collapse the context down. Let me just collapse all this down. All right, we can look at the messages. Currently, so this is how kind of verbose it is. As it's passing through each of the nodes, it's keeping track of the messages. We currently have 69 messages. Nice. So let's go work through some of these and see where it's at. All right, where are we going here? Okay, here's where it does Go Buster. So this is the last tool call before it passes on to the exploit agent. Okay, cool. Yeah, so here we're in the exploit agent right here. Boop, see that? So these are not actual messages back from the language model. We're basically using the AI messages as a placeholder for anything that happens either from the language model or from, or as it's passing through the various nodes. They're basically like logging messages. So the agent says, okay, I'm sending task 5, get remote code execution from a web shell. It does a pre-flight check, basically looking, hey, did we already exploit this host so we don't re-exploit it? That's what the pre-flight check is looking at. It says, hey, we don't have an initial access payload, so we're going to pass it to the exploitation agent. Perfect. So now, and the task is very simple. Upload a PHP web shell through panel upload and execute via the uploads directory. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. This is the suggestion. This is how it's saying, this is what the exploit suggestion is going to be. And then the step processor comes in and should say, okay, this is what we're going to do with it now. Actually, hold on. Where's... There should be more tasks to this. This should be broken down a little bit more, but let's try it. So it actually did it, though. It looks like it's working. So get a PHP web shell. We got that. It gets our PHP web shell from the Docker volume. We append the tool call output, checking status 0 and step 0. It validates. Awesome. So now I'll help you navigate to the target's panel. It calls the browser agent to do that. Now this human message here is a weird artifact of how the browser agent is working. It's basically... It's just an odd artifact. This is actually not like an actual human message. It's just this is the initial function that the initial task it was sent to the browser agent. That's fine. So we tell it to navigate to the web server on panel. Oh, I need to make sure that... Add an hour. There we go. Let's see. So what's the next thing it does? Page loaded successfully. So we're going to upload the panel here. Page contains a file upload interface. So what was the actual task here, though? Oh, we don't see the actual task of what it was. So that it calls the browser agent again here. I'll help you identify this. Okay, that's fine. From the page snapshot, I can see the upload interface. However, you haven't specified which PHP web shell to upload. Exploit task 0, step 2. Hold on, so then it calls the browser agent again. It's using an already established browser session, which is good. Where the hell did this come from? There's no home Kali shell.php. What the crap? Freaking hallucinations, man. So this would have been about here, I believe. Oh, we got a tool exception when this was called. That's weird. No modal state present. What does that mean? Hold on. So where's our file upload now? What's it doing? So it's still trying to upload this non-existent file that it just hallucinated out of the ether. Let's see. Let's look at what we actually sent to the browser agent. So let's go look at our first message here. Here we go. Well, here's our tools. Here's our input. Oh, so our input is human. Navigate to this panel. It'll help with that. Okay, great. Page load occurs, human. Identify and use the upload for panel directory to upload a PHP web shell. So I think the problem with this is this came back from the step planner right here. So for some reason, the step planner. No, there's our step planner right there. This is very odd. Also, happy Sunday, Frozen. Happy Sunday to everyone. I hope you all had a fantastic day today. I was telling everybody at the beginning of the stream, I had a pretty chill day. Went to church this morning. I checked on my mom, and then Sock and I went to go see a musical. That's her big thing. She loves musicals. I have to ask y'all a very important question. Did y'all hear the chimes in the background just now? Yeah. How loud was it, Shell? Because I don't want to go look at the replay right now while we're in the middle of the stream, but I've gone through and I had tweaked the microphone in here to remove something called a noise gate. So if you never had to deal with this, I've been learning more about audio than I really care to know. But what happens here, noticeable but not annoying. Okay. So what happens here is when you have a noise gate, so let's say you've got like just a kind of like chill level of background noise, right? And maybe something like the door chimes happens, right? And then it kind of chills back out right here. So what you could do is, and let's say like your normal talking volume. So let's say this is the chime right here. And then you have like, let's say my normal talking volume's up here. So what the noise gate does is it waits until it reaches like a certain level before it starts capturing the audio. The problem though is you've got a gap here where it's processing. And so you've got a processing time here. And I knew this was a little bit of an issue, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I was cutting the last YouTube video I uploaded. And I noticed that it was cutting off the very, very beginning of the words I was saying. So I removed the noise gate, and I've been waiting for something that might be background sound to see if y'all caught it. Well, sure enough, looks like it did. And I'm not surprised it didn't catch it because this microphone here is a shotgun mic. There we go. Right here. So it picks up sound very well directionally. And unfortunately, where the chimes are is kind of in that direction back there. Noise gates love big amplitude differences, and they want you to put the mic in your face even if it's directed. I don't, unfortunately, have a good place to mount a microphone arm, Hats. Otherwise, I would have gotten one. And that was actually the reason why I used the shotgun mic, was for that very reason. All right, so what is going on with our step planner here? So we did get the steps. We got the individual steps here. Create a simple PHP web shell. Looks like that worked. Let's look at the step processor real fast. The context is empty because this is the very first one. That's no problem. Let's look at the next step processor here. Context here was create a simple PHP web shell on a remote file, and then boop, there's the output right there. And see, this bugs me. This bugs me a lot. I want just this part of the data right there. The beard could store a microphone and act as a noise filter. I actually have one. It's over on the other desk. And I mostly use it whenever I'm recording short videos, but it's like a clip-on mic. I thought about trying to use it, but honestly, the shotgun mic has been working really well. I just wish there was a way to cut out a little bit more of the background noise for instances like that. Let's see. But the good news is, we do see the context here coming through, so that's good. Let's see. So we do a browser navigate. And then if we go to the next step processor here, Oh yeah, look at this. All that output right there is looking absolutely atrocious. That is not bueno right here. So let's break this down a bit. So we had the create simple PHP web shell right here. Boop. I do want to go actually format this a little bit differently. Let's do a little bit of fixing up on this. So the context is going to be, let's see, previous exploit steps like this. And then we'll throw a new line on there. I'm going to throw one more new line in here. And then, so for our initial task, we'll put a star in there, just like that. There we go. I think that will help kind of break it up a little bit. However, having this just giant, this works, right? But having this giant, there's a lot of wasted space in here, right? This is a lot of wasted potential that we could strip out. If I had a beard like yours, I'd weaponize it. Actually, I believe it's more for defensive purposes, Dora. So one of the other things that happened on top of all the deaths in the family over the past year and hurting my lower back is about, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, I was riding an ATV with my younger son, Honey Badger, and we were riding along and hit a bump that was hidden in the grass. And for this particular type of ATV, I could have saved it. However, Honey Badger is only 3, right? He's riding in my lap and he's riding real loose and basically just holding on to my legs. So the options were stand up and risk dumping him off the side to try and wrestle the ATV back into position, or the second option, which is what I did, is I balled him up and I just tuck and rolled, and I landed on this shoulder and did some damage to my ribs in here, mostly in the cartilage and the meat, nothing in the bone. But the big gag was that it was actually my beard that saved me. So I didn't have any damage to my head. It was all on the shoulder. I had the protective beard. Oh, this is so terrible. I mean, I guess it's working because it looks like it's accepting it in here. So actually, it looks like this might work. So it says, I'll help you identify and use the upload form to upload the PHP web shell. So based on the context provided, I can see there's a web shell available at this path, which is perfect. The panel is located at the panel. The page contains an upload form with choose file and upload buttons. So I'll use the browser agent to upload the PHP web shell. So it calls the browser agent here. When it calls the browser agent, what does it say? Oh, okay. So from the page snapshot, I can see the file upload interface. However, you haven't specified which PHP web shell file to upload. So I need the actual path to the PHP web shell to use within the browser upload function. Got it. So we might need to actually go through. So how do we tell it which file to actually go through and do the upload with? My first thought was the beard blocked an uppercut, but your story was cooler. Dude. The good news is Honey Badger was just fine. I'm obviously much larger than him, and so I balled him up real good. I took 99.9% of the impact. He got a scrape on his elbow, just a little road rash. But the best thing was Honey Badger has that name appropriately, right? He gives 0 Fs. But when he was actually really well behaved because since I was going to the ER, we decided to go ahead and take him in and get him checked out as well. He was perfectly fine, no issues. Doctor said he's 100%. But he was actually really chill and mellow and well behaved at the ER, which I was not expecting. It's not an easy task for him, but he did fantastic on it. So let's see here. So it tries to tell it, hey, we want to go use the file upload, but it doesn't. We don't tell it which one to use. So what's our human message here? Identify and use the upload form directory to upload the PHP web shell. Okay, so the problem is it didn't specify where this was. So let's see if the reviser actually fixes this. So the reviser gets all this information out. And let's see. So the status of the exploit was failed. That's fine. The task was to identify and use the upload form, but the actual upload couldn't be completed because the path to the PHP shell wasn't provided. So since the form was successfully identified, could be completed. So then it says, it gives a revision here. So this revision is, hey, we're going to update the task with a new explanation to it. And this is where it went off the freaking rails right there. Upload form directory, upload the PHP web shell located at, for some reason, home Kali shell PHP. Why? Why? Let's go try running it again, because these systems are non-deterministic. They can have these kind of weird hallucinations in them. Let's see if it actually will carry through the PHP shell real fast. This part right here, though, is really bugging me. When we've got all this additional information happening here. All these messages and whatnot, I've got to go clean that up. Because it's one thing it's doing is it's burning a lot of tokens. The other thing is it's throwing a lot of noise into the mixture. The more tightly you can control the context of the information, well, basically, if you're giving the language model a lot of information without a lot of noise, you're obviously going to get a better signal out of it. Yeah, home Kali. Nice, right? I'm not even using Kali, which is why it makes it extra dumb. Okay, the good news is it looks like the reviser is attempting to obviously make corrections, which is what it should do. If the step fails, the reviser should look at what the error or the issue was and try to make recommendations to adjust it. I like watching the graph run while the tools work. Me too, man. I don't see an error popping up here. Yeah, so there was an error. It just for some reason didn't render in the graph. Recursion limit 25 hit without reaching a condition. Damn it! So what's happened here is it has hit 25 distinct nodes as it was coming through here, and that's the limit that it will do. So chances are we probably got stuck in a loop when this happened. So we go to browser navigate. We tell it to upload something, but not what to upload. Let's see, it probably said go upload the PHP web shell again. Identify and use the upload form in the PHP directory. That's not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is come through here. To say what file that you want to upload. So was this information ever provided? See, it's still trying to use whatever this home Kali shell PHP BS is. Let me look at something real fast here. Let's go double check something over in this code. So when we hand off to the special agent. All right, Dora, have a good night. Blaise Thane of Sparta. Have a good night, Dora. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate getting a chat with everyone. Oh, hey, guys, real quick reminder. New streams have now moved to Wednesday night. So the next new stream is going to be on the 17th. Which I guess is technically, for some of y'all across the pond, on the 18th. But basically, it's shifting down the week one day. Let's see. I need to go find the special agent caller in here. Let's see, there's our step router. I think I could take this out right here. Boop. Special agent node. Let's go to the declaration for this. I had this like completely typoed in here. Let me fix this real quick. There we go. Interesting. So we do the agent to call, and then we pass in the state. Okay, so the wrapper for that has to be actually handling the parsing. I had to remind myself real quick. I'm going to comment that out because I don't believe we need that anymore. But let's come back over to browser agent real quick. Because in here is actually where we're going to invoke the graph, and I got to remember where that actually is. Browser agent graph. Oh, I just noticed something in here. For some reason, step index. Oh, that's why. That is why, because the step index is actually defined up here. That's fine. I gotta rebuild this real quick because I need this value right here. It would almost kind of make, nah, it's very different here. This should not be the step index here. That's the difference between this. Ah, crap. So the reason for this is different is because if it's an exploit task, it's gonna be working on a step. And if it's everything else, like if we're doing recon or enumeration or anything like, let's say, PostX, it's going to be a task in and of itself. So we can take this part out. It should just be the task, current task output. Like that. That should be it. So we get our agent messages back. Agent messages is up there. That's fine. Okay, I think that's good right there. What's your general opinion on Python libraries versus rolling your own? So just spend an hour to yell at libs using libs unsupported on new hardware. God, there's a special. The theory that I have, Hats, is that there's an undocumented additional layer of hell that Dante Alighieri did not get to put in the Inferno, and that is Python dependencies. So yeah, they can get really nasty really quick. And in fact, there's another theory that Docker was created because it was simpler. Hey, Strictly Dominant, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you're having a fantastic, stupendous Sunday. But the other theory is that Docker was created because it's easier to ship an entire operating system than manage Python dependencies. Let's see. Okay, I think this is good right here. In fact, I think I can... I'm not going to delete that code. Actually, I want to leave that for just a second. Let's see. So we get the current task on the output. We add the output, and that's very good. Wait, is that right? I don't think this part right here is actually correct. Actually, I think it might be. Hang on. Let me come down to the bottom here. Let me check the state table real fast. Keep scrolling, 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 scrolling. Come on. Actually, yeah, it looks like it is right. Current task output tool. Oh, okay, yeah, this one's a little bit different. Hold on. I need to look at a different task for this. Let's see. So there's our output. Let's see. This one's putting the agent name in here, so this shouldn't be output tool. No. This would be just tool right there. So this is a typo. Oop, take that out. There we go. That's better. Oh, that was the whole joke. The whole joke. Docker is simpler. It is, man. Python dependencies is the new DLL hell. DL hell. Yes, it is, man. But you know what? There's a lot of XP, especially since Ultraviolet came out. Managing the Python dependencies has been a lot simpler with that. However, once like the first, let's say, beta version of this is kind of released, when it hits like the beta mark, it's going to be released as a Docker container with an orchestrator to handle all the systems on it. It's just going to be much simpler that way. All the tooling containers all the tools are already going to be executed in containers. RoboPages is already in container. It just makes sense to have it basically be a little swarm of containers. This is even worse than dependency versions, though. It's a tiny display user-land code for Python, uses GPIO access libs, and don't have definitions for Raspberry 5. Raspberry 5. Oh. Yeah, that part does get rather boring. In fact, there's some of them here where, especially when you're doing a lot of like local AI agent stuff, you run into a lot of issues where you come across, you come across issues where like the libraries don't support like the latest version of CUDA, or you've got to mix and match depending on what your hardware is. So you have to get a particular version of CUDA and a particular version of these other libraries. And some of them are just straight like compiled, so you've got to wheel install them instead of like install them as packages. It gets ugly. I dare say it gets fugly. I gotta look at something here. And look at this. Now it's hallucinated that it's temp shell PHP. Okay. So there's an error over here in agents where we need to go invoke this guy. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this down because I think the output formatter is fine. So here's our result, right? And what we're doing is we're sending the step task to it. So that's the problem here, is we're sending the step task, but the browser agent itself is losing all the context of the conversation. So it does not know where the PHP web shell is. Got it. Hey, Bobby, what's up, man? Akuda fooled me? Damn it. Ah, damn it, Bobby. King of dad puns. Hope you're having a good night, man. Let's see. So we need to go update this just a wee bit. And what we need to do here is... So we can't just send the step task. This is the problem right here. So... a little to do in here. We need to create a context for the task. So what we can do is we can start with the step task in here. So we can say we'll call this a browser task, and we'll start with the step task in here. Oh, but coder, use VNV. That is the right way. Yeah, F off, indeed. Yeah, might as well go back to the Java VM. Ugh, Java. I'm going to tell y'all probably one of the dirtiest jokes I think I've ever told on stream, and it was told to me by a friend, and he said the theory that Java is good because it works on every machine is the same theory that anal works for everyone because everybody's got the hole for it. Oh, sometimes that's how Java feels. All right, let me see here. Oh, I'm gonna have to go I think I'm gonna have to use the same context logic in here. Yeah, Bobby, he told me that joke probably 20 years ago, and I have never forgotten it. Now, it's probably closer to like 15 years ago, but it was so perfect. I have never forgotten that joke. Hold on. I need to actually come back here. I may actually take this and bust this out into a different file and make this reusable, because this would be handy for building the context of the exploit steps. So let me go look at this. Of course, our utils. So there's special agents, host update, LLM helpers, logging, open router. That one's not really doing anything right now. Tasking. Do I want to put this in tasking? No, I'm going to make a new one in here. So new Python file. We're going to call this context helpers. Yeah. Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in here, and it's going to be like, I don't know what to do. That's all right. We're going to fix this. So we're going to find this as build exploit task context. That's what we're going to call this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take in a state value, and this is going to be a type of stinger states, just like that. There we go. Let's indent all of this. Only difference in that case is that Java, it comes with spiky metal condoms. Ow! Ow! Ow. Now the joke is seared into my memory as well. So I had another friend, actually it was Rostamouse on Twitter, and he used the abbreviation CP in a tweet. And naturally, I did not think he was talking about Crystal Palace, which is a position-independent shellcode system. So I tweeted back, I was like, dude, you should probably specify that this is Crystal Palace. He's like, why, what does CP stand for? I was like, I will not be the one to burden you with that knowledge. Java's for everyone. I'm not saying you can't do Java. I'm just saying the arguments for using Java are suspect. All right, what do I want to get here? I'm going to... So the first thing we do is we come find out what's the first, like, working one. What is this? Why is this squiggly line in here? Yeah, and this is the stuff that kind of bugs me about Python too. This is an IDE error. It's like, hey, we expected a list of exploit steps. And we got a list of exploit stuff instead. I'm like, it's the same thing. There's no difference. All right, let's see here. Go with fourth. At least you can judge the book by its cover. Hold on. Can I even show that on stream? I gotta remember. I can't find it. Let's see. No, I'm not seeing it, but I know which book cover you're talking about. Wait, nope, there it is. Yep, I found it. Yeah. So this is the... That was the book. That was the cover for the fourth programming language book. Right there. For programming on Atari. In this case, you're right, Hats. You can judge the book by its cover. I know, right? I've never seen a better cover for a programming book.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Oh, what's up, man? Let's see. Alright, where was our context helpers? Let's go build this like real fast. So the sucks is I need to get the context, the current step, and the exploit step out of this. So let's see. Where's our current step? Here's our current step right here. Actually, what we could do is we could actually pass in whatever the current step is from this. How do I want to structure this? I'm trying to think. What we need is the exploit task index and then the step. All right, let's do this. So we need exploit task index and current exploit step. That's what we need. So if we pass those two items into this, then I think we'll actually be good. So we'll say, actually, I take that back. This, we need this passed here. Boop, just like that. Yeah, I know you gonna import that. Oh, we need the exploit task index. Actually, that's what we need. I screwed that up. Let's see, where's our exploit task index? Let me screw this over for now. What a majestic piece of art. I know, right? Reminds me of heavy metal. Yeah, let me copy this. Let's see. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass in exploit task index. And what else? Let's see. So this is actually what we needed right here. There we go. So we get the... Let's restructure this a bit. So we get the exploit task now. We're getting that from the state table that we're passing into it. And then, ultimately what we need here is, we need whatever the current step is. which should be, I believe, these two lines here. Yeah, you can import that. There you go. That should get us the current step, and then actually I think that's all we needed right there was whatever the exploit task index was. Yep, that gives us the exploit task. That gets us our steps. We get the current step because that's already tracked in the state table. We're golden. Actually, I don't even know if we even need the exploit step, do we? Oh, we do, because exploit step is actually used right here. So we can get the task and the output. Gucci. Awesome. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to return that. Then we just return context. So this guy, I'm going to say it's going to return a string. Just like so. So now we pass in these two items, the stinger state and the exploit task index, and we're good. So now we just need to call this. What did I call this? Build exploit task context. And then we're going to pass in the state table, and then we're going to pass in the exploit task index, just like that. So now this should actually go build the context for us. And the good thing about this is, now if we come back over meow. Oh, I forgot I gotta import that. But we should be able to use this exact line here to go build the context over here in our agents. Perfect. Let's bring this over. C#. Right, let's do this real quick. Let's say our context. Actually, I think I got that whole line right there. Yeah. Which this one's going to be a different value. Exploit task index. What was this one? A cat from Poland. What's up, man? These for this example, I'm not running these locally. I actually do have a small server down here where I do run some language models locally. Usually, I think right now it's running GPT OSS 20B, and it's an older rig. It doesn't run super fast. It's got two 1080 Ti's in it. It used to be an old password cracking rig. Back, I don't know. It's probably 7 years old. It was from when I first started penetration testing, but the good thing about those 1080 Ti cards.
Caution. A virus has been detected.
It's the Tannis virus.
Detected in the network.
That's alright. I said Cookie Monsters to slow them down. What is up, Mr. Tannis? By the way, guys, if a lot of y'all, I know you're trying to learn and improve your IT education, Mr. Tannis, our beloved Het Tannis, is amazing at that. He's a very good teacher. He is an absolute wizard of the Gandalf level in all things Linux, and currently working on his PhD. Super smart guy. So definitely check him out. Let me make sure I got the shout out on him. What's up, man? Do all the Linuxes. Yes, pillage then burn. Correct. Because there is an order of operations here. What's up, man? What are we working on tonight? I've never been accused of being smart. Dude, I just literally accused you. Literally. I literally just did it. Oh, this is funky. This is running a little funky. I'm gonna have to go dig through this a bit. Yeah. Which one I need to do? Going through Linux Werewolf? What is Werewolf? I have not seen that. And I can't type either. Werewolf. Oh, actually, you did tell me about this. Yeah. Yes. I reckon because I recognize the the slightly off-putting, totally green webpage here. By the way, all the raiders, welcome in, guys. For anybody who doesn't know who I am, which is probably most of y'all, my name is Blaise. I am a professional penetration tester. I've been doing that for 7 years. Been in IT for 15 years. Been literally hacking on computers since the 2nd grade, having a blast with it. And we're building a little AI hacking bot. Its job is to go play CTF games for us, and it's finally doing some really awesome stuff. We're just making some quality of life updates to get it to make this exploitation a little bit smoother. In fact, here's what we're kind of working on right now. Is we're working on this exploitation agent here. And what it does is, let me kind of rearrange these nodes a wee bit. This exploitation agent actually comes through and it runs this loop where it suggests, hey, by the way, we already did our recon and our enumeration of the target. How are we going to exploit it? So the exploit agent says, here's how I want you to try to exploit it. The planner comes through and says, okay, here's the steps I'm going to do. And then it goes through and it tries to execute all the steps, and it has a revisor for error correcting. Oh, by the way, we can't upload something with the .php extension. Great, let's try a different file extension that we could use. Boom, and it's going to run through these steps in here. So right now what it's doing is we're working on this special agent node where we can actually have additional AI agents set up to make their own language model calls and do their own thing, but they're for specialized tasks. And the one we've made right now is for handling all interactions with a Playwright web browser. So it's working, however, we're missing some vital information in the context of what we're sending to the language model. So we're sitting here and we're juicing it up. We're getting some extra info. Oh, that's from the same guys that do Rocky Linux. Cool. Unfortunately, got to go to sleep. Dude, yeah, I know. It's very early in Poland right now. I hope to go visit Poland sometime. There's a lot of places I'd like to go visit. I'd like to go visit Rome. There's some places over in France I'd like to go visit. Poland's also on that list. Unfortunately, I have never been across the Atlantic, and it's one of the things I really want to do. Let's see. Let me close some of these real quick. Let me see if I got this up correctly. So we need the exploit task index. Do we need that? Let's see, where was our task index? Oh, it checks for the element that says it's working. But this is a little bit different here, so it should be good. So we're gonna, because by the time we call this, it should be whatever the current working is. Let's see, so there's our current task. So we get that from the... I gotta remember what the exploit task index was. Let's see. Ah, yeah, I remember what this is. I'll tell you what, I gotta run to the bathroom, guys. I will be right back. Protected stream. Unfortunately, I don't know if I even have any mods in here. I mean, I know Hats is a Fed. I should probably just make him a mod. Let's see here. I came over here to try and before I got away from the computer to try and add some extra time to it. It didn't like that. Thinking out loud again. Let's see. I gotta remember exactly what I was getting here. How was I handling this? Let me double check something in here. How did I do this? Yeah, so we find the first current working sound. So what I'm looking at here, guys, is this. See if I can find an example of it here. Let me scroll down quite a bit. So what we've got here is, as we're working through these, you see how we got a status in here? This status will either, so like we either have a new, it'll go to working, and then it will go to either failed or validated in here. So in this case, this one failed. That's why it kind of panicked out on us. Not a bad thing, but the stages of late night coding. It worked before. How did I do this? Why did I do this? You're not joking. I probably should put some more comments in the code. Especially considering I usually only work on this project on the weekends. So I've got a 5-day span where I don't work on it, and it's just enough time to brain dump different pieces of information. And I haven't, of course, worked on any of the documentation yet. I think once I finish the exploitation agent, I'm going to go through and actually document the structure of the state table. So that way I can at least keep that straight. Let me see here. Because before, what we were passing it is... This was all of our input from before. Yeah, so this didn't know where that PHP shell was. And then it hallucinated this Kali PHP shell, which is weird. Document what? Sounds like no job security. Well, considering that this is supposed to be an open source project that I want people to go contribute to, I do want, you know, I don't want perfect job security where nobody can go contribute to it. I tell my junior guys that you have to document to a level that gives you comfort that you won't get called out over the weekend. True. I usually tell people approach documentation like the person who will be following up after you is a homicidal axe murderer and knows your exact location. You should document to that level. I think yours is a little bit more reasonable, though. Let me see here. Oh, this is the exploit task index. Got it. Which I think in this case we called it the step index here. We did need these exploit steps, so that is fine for this option here. Yeah, this should be our step index right here. I believe that's correct. All right, so now what we have is we have our browser task, which is our step task, and then our context here, just like so. Hey, Rich, what's up, man? Network Chuck also made something like this. Did he? Was that in his N8N video? Because I didn't get to finish watching it. I only saw part of it. I mean, there's also, this is not meant to be some earth-breaking, ground-shattering piece of code. This is serving other purposes. And one of them is for me to get practice building a code base from scratch. His new MCP one? Yeah. Now, the difference is, there's a little bit of a difference between MCP and kind of an agentic system. An MCP will support an agentic system, but it does not make something an agent in and of itself. So, for example, an MCP server can provide things to an agent, right here. Something that an agent is what's going to be basically making your language model calls and also maybe executing some kind of a workflow around those, right? But you're not getting any of that from an MCP server. The MCP server is serving up things like tools that could be called, right? It's serving up, you can even serve up different prompts in there. You could also serve up, I think, different artifacts, like files, whatnot. If you need to do database calls, you can do those over the MCP. So the MCP is providing a lot of the back-end tooling to the actual agent to make that information. And really, this should go two-way right here, like this. So the kind of flow is that the MCP server is supporting whatever the agent is doing. Now, there's some drawbacks to MCP, though, and there's a reason why I'm only using it in specific situations. So like the browser agent in here uses MCP because that was the most efficient way to talk to Playwright. A lot of the tooling on this system, though, is being done with another system called RoboPages. RoboPages was actually released before MCP was even a thing, and RoboPages has a number of benefits to it. And that is, if you want to go design a new tool, hold on, let me get the other one here. We can actually design the tools and the functions that we can execute as YAML files. For example, let me come over here to cybersecurity, come to offensive. So like, for example, if we wanted to look at AMAS, let's say we wanted to add AMAS as a new tool in here. Well, boom, they've already got the YAML structure defined for it. We could even run it inside of a Docker container, and then we can add this here. So if we need to go add new tooling, it's real fast. Eventually, one of the specialty agents I wanted to add was something for like a web search, or something that could come in and basically make a modified version of one of the YAML files that it's already got, and then spin up a new tool itself. So we could have a tooling specialty agent in here. And that special agent would basically be able to go, we'd have it walk through a series of steps for filling out the YAML file in here. And then boom, we load that into our container. We restart the container, restart the container, we do a fresh reload of all the tools, and boom, we're good. So which is better? It depends. If you want to have fast prototyping of tooling, I actually think RoboPages is better. And they were trying to work on beefing up RoboPages to actually add an MCP front end to it. Right now it's all web back and forth. The downside is, though, the guy who was working on RoboPages, which I think was Gangrene Temper Tantrum, isn't working at Dreadnought anymore. And he wrote it in Rust, which works well, if you know Rust. But I think he was the only person on the team that actually knew Rust. So unfortunately, RoboPages may just kind of wither on the vine, which sucks because I really like it. So I hope someone comes in and actually starts working on it a bit more. Which one will not take my job? An MCP server is not going to take your job. An AI agent is likely not going to take your job either, because as you can see, there's a lot to deal with in here. We're dealing with right now that it's hallucinating a PHP file that doesn't even exist. It's completely hallucinating it. But the reason why it was hallucinating it is because we did not have this context value kind of built up in here. I support MCP then. Actually, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like MCP. I think it's useful for a lot of things, but a lot of people seem to... They're basically treating it like a hammer, right? And anytime you get a new... anytime you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So they're trying to shoehorn stuff into MCP that, yes, could it work? Technically, it can. But is it the best tool for the job? No. If you need to take out a nail or insert a nail, yeah, a hammer is great. If you got to go cut a board, a hammer is going to be a really crappy tool for that. I just like that statement. I support MCP. Excuse me, try not to cough into the microphone. I'm gonna do something. Actually, let me take this out. I'm gonna make this just another format string because I don't know why. I love format strings. Then literally just gonna plop this guy right in there, just like that. Ta-da! We can take that out. And then instead of using the step task, what we're going to do is we're going to use the browser task right here. So now what this should do is it should go build the context of all the previously executed steps, take them, bring them over into here, and now whenever we run this, what we should see is we should see like actual proper information going to it. Hammer is better than screwdriver is to hammer. There was a funny video I saw of this lady, and she was trying to learn how to do her own home repair, and it was really funny because she's using a drill, right? But for some reason, she takes the drill and she holds it right where she needs it, but rather than drilling in, she takes a hammer and starts beating the back of the drill with it. I was like, well, that's going to be an expensive lesson. But you know what? I don't want to belittle anybody trying to learn how to do things for themselves. Let's see. Let's see if we can run this again. Let me see. Good, I can add my one more hour for the rest of the stream. Let me zoom in here, because this is where all the action is going to be happening. It's going to go through this loop right here. You say that, but we all know a person who should not do things. Yeah, apparently there's a lot of things I shouldn't do. Like, go ATV riding. Alright, let's see. I'm hoping this is not going to error out, because you can't see it because it's right behind me, but this timer here, as this gets closer and closer, okay, it looks like Anthropic's still probably a little overloaded, but it's working. Should I go to the box and make changes? No, don't make changes. Oh, now what is this? We got a Index error. Index out of range. Oh my. Where do we see this? Oh. Exploit task index for some reason. Now, what's interesting, this came up here in the special agent node. Wonder why. So we didn't actually get to execute the browser agent because obviously when it was trying to build this, our exploit task, for some reason, list index out of range. Why would you be out of range? Let's see. So state task, that's the task. We index it on the current task. We get the output variable because that's actually where we store the exploit task. And then we get the exploit task index. So what was the exploit task index for this one here? Current step would be 1 in this case. So it should have gotten the output from this right here. Oh, Voxen's doing nighttime hack the box hacking, so you should join when you have free time. I would, dude, except my free time is so limited because I have a lot of stuff I work on for work, and then I have a lot of stuff I work on for the stream, and I got 2 little kids. I got a wife, so I keep pretty busy. Otherwise, I would actually really like to hop on there. Yeah, no worries, Wrench, dude. If nothing else, I don't actually enjoy CTFs because a lot of them, they're fun puzzles, don't get me wrong, but they're not realistic for a lot of things. But I try to, whenever I do them, like if I do them on stream, make it a learning experience. Like, okay, hey, look, this is where you might go with this. Some of the stuff that I look at with it. But then also you run into weird cases like the last one we did where I went down the correct exploit path and it didn't return the data initially. It returned it later after someone in the chat gave me a hint. I was like, I did that though. And so they get to be kind of a beatdown sometimes. Yeah, Oreo, there is always something to work on. So on that front, Wrench, Tyler Ramsby, Hack Smarter, he is working on actually building some that are more realistic. So he's starting to try and take a bite out of the Hack the Box and Try Hack Me pie. Because basically those are mostly like the only 2 games in town. You've got Try Hack Me, you've got Hack the Box, then you've got self-hosted stuff that you could run. And so Tyler's actually trying to come in and take a chunk of that, but instead of it being like puzzle tile CTFs, it's going to be more like, what is it? I'm trying to remember what it's called. They're supposed to be like basically more like realistic CTFs. Oh, you're currently building a lab for him? Nice. I've got another lab, actually, I'm intending to go build for him as well. And the reason for that is because but the problem is, it's not one that you could really go easily deploy because it's using AWS services. And I really want to build it for him. I just don't know any way that you could go deploy it to make it. So it would be like a really like one-off CTF. Like the Hack the Box Academy, but for real. Yeah, pretty much. Now the question is, so we go find the first working index. That's fine. Let me check something real quick. Where else have I set things to working in here? Ah, so that's where it actually gets set right there. So oh, that's our exploit steps, yeah. And that works out our exploit task index. Okay. See, this is one of the other things where sometimes the naming gets kind of funky. Where do I want to put this? So I'm trying to figure out why here it's working just fine, but not over in this one. Let's see, that's our step planner right there. So we get our exploit steps by basically parsing out the steps that come back from the language model. That's our exploit task index. That's right, that's the exploit task. That is not the exploit step. I believe that is where the issue is coming in here. Let me go double check this. Let's look at the context of this real quick. So this was in the exploit step processor. So let's see where we had a call from the exploit step processor right here. Let's make sure we actually are sending the correct stuff over to the language model. Previous steps, we had create PHP web shell, and then there's the output from it. Perfect. So that was actually working. Yeah. What was our step task, though? That's the kicker. If we come down here, we should be able to see what the step task is. Hang on one sec, guys. There we go. Doop. All right, sorry, had to do a little housekeeping there real quick. Let's see, how do I want to handle this real quick? Hacker mind on, right? So for some reason, the browser task, even though, let me see here. So current step is 1, so it should have gathered all of this information right here. So from range 0, I bet I pulled out the wrong value. I bet that's what it is. Gotta look at something real quick. That's about what I thought. Okay. Easy enough fix. Alright. Pseudo mind on, right? Let's see, so over here in the agent, I'm supposed to take the step index here. That's going to come from task output. Wait, why did I do this as 0? Let me double check something in the stat table. Yeah, so it should be 0 in here. This should be just it. Because that's going to give us the entire array. So then it's going to be our steps in here. Let's see. So there's our task output right there. I probably should, actually, I think I'm using these, each of these ones that's been busted out, I believe I'm using each of these. Maybe not whatever the individual step is. Yeah, there it is, current step. So it is the current step that should be happening in here. Because that should point to which one. Oh, I think I see where I'm going on with this. Here's our exploit step. Here's our exploit task. So the task is actually what gets stored in the task table for the state table. So that tells us what the current step is. However, unfortunately, I don't think that is the correct target for this. Yep, that is not correct. So this should not be the step index. But that's an easy fix, because what we're going to do is go back over to context helpers. Yeah, this is misnamed. This shouldn't be the exploit task index right here. Because see how it's nested under the output? This should have been the exploit step index. That's what's messing this up real quick. That's where it's getting kind of funky. And it takes a little bit to debug it just because the state table gets so deep. Let's see. Yeah, because that's not what this is expecting. Because what's happening here is, if we look at this, it's expecting the exploit task index. So what it's looking for is, we go to the state table, we index it on whatever the current task is from the state table. We go to the output, and then we get the, we jump to the one that's the exploit task index. That's the current exploit task that we're doing, right? And then we go through our exploit steps here. And so that is our list of all of our steps that we've got. And then we go get the current one from our exploit task. Which is fine, because all this is the stuff that should be happening for our exploit tasks. Let me bold that real quick so I actually pay attention to it. How do I want to attack this? Let me see. Let's see. So we get whatever the current task is. That is fine. We grab the output from it. Yeah, I need to refactor this real quick. Because this is not a... It's not really an exploit task index. This is an exploit step index. Right there. And that's what's throwing me off, because there's a difference between an exploit task. The exploit task is, hey, go exploit this target with a PHP web shell, right? The exploit step is the individual steps that you have to take to achieve the exploitation. So, for example, if this was actually the step, it would be up here, like where the current task is, right here. May just have to go pull all this data back out. That's the annoying part. Let me see. So we get the task that we're currently working on. That's our current task. We grab the output from it, and then basically just grab the entire list here. Except this should not be an exploit task. Hold on. I think the parsing of the task table is functified. Let me look at something real quick. Where's the stinger state? So for task, it's a list of tasks in here. And the task type is this one right here. Oh, okay. Actually, I did have this as an exploit task right here. So exploit tasks are, and they do have the current step. Okay, so I'm not hallucinating. I'm just forgetting where everything is. I'm just forgetful. Let me close output format. So I think I don't use that right now. Yep, so this actually would be our exploit task. That's fine. Our step index is going to be whatever our current step is. Why would I need to hallucinate? Because the AI will do it for me? I know, right? Let me see. No, I'm just trying to make sure I'm accessing the correct path for both of these in here. I probably should actually go maybe break these out into further helpers for the agents, like, hey, get the current working task, stuff like that. But I'm going to save that for whenever we actually do the code rewrite before it gets released. And that's going to be a little ways off because we still have to go through the post-exploitation agent, the stinger agent, and the stinger supervisor, and then adding the human in the loop in there. So there's going to be a little bit of time before I go through and do all the code optimization in here. Because like I said, this is the first large code-based project I have personally written. I've hacked on code a ton over the years, in probably 24 different languages. Especially if you start including like a lot of the web style languages. However, writing something from scratch, that was a big part of this exercise, was getting used to that. So I foresee a massive rewrite in the future. Oh, let me see. Because it feels like this should be the correct value here. Let me actually redo this, because now that I remember the naming, the exploit task index actually does make sense. So, I think a lot of this is not even being used. So that breaks this line right here. So I do want the step task, that's fine, which does come from the task, which is okay. But actually, we can even break this down a little bit further here. Hold on, let me bust this out a wee bit here. Why is it saying that these are not resolved? Task outputs right here. So here we're getting the current task, and then we go grab the output. So that's our task output here. From task output, we get our current step. Why is this throwing such a fit? Oh, I know why. Should be that. There we go. Now we can clean that up. Okay. So I'm just taking out some of these ones that aren't needed in here. So like we do need the step task. Sorry, step index. It's used in a couple different spots in here. That's our current step. That should be correct. How did it get so out of whack, though? Let's see. So in the state table, we get the current task, we go to the output, and then we get the exploit task index. I think I see why, actually. I believe this is where it's actually getting messed up. Let me check how we did this in the exploitation agent. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason, this is the only one where we're pulling out the 0 right here. So expected a type of exploit task, got a different type in here. Let me detype this real fast. Actually, no, I do want to leave that typing in there. So we get the task, then we get the exploit task as part of it. We get the step index here. And that should be the correct one. I don't get what it's doing, why it's going all crazy here. Please make it quick so I don't have to do hacking ever again. I enjoy it though. It's fun to think non-linearly, right? I enjoy the puzzle aspect when I'm doing a penetration test. I don't enjoy the contrived puzzle aspect of a lot of CTFs. Because there's stuff I've seen in CTFs that I've never seen in real life. Theoretically possible, but not likely possible, right? And if you think about it, it's because a lot of times the administrators, whenever they're building these systems out, they're following typical, let's call them flaw paths, right? Certain survivorship bias, where they've seen how things were done in the past and that system works, so then they repeat that process. So you see that a lot whenever you're working in, if you do like penetration testing and you're doing it regularly, you start seeing a lot of patterns build up, especially if you worked in IT prior to going into penetration testing, which most offensive security folks have. They worked typically either in like system administration or in blue teaming. Hey, Linux AI, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in, and I hope you're having a fantastic Super Sunday. Save a password in the browser with no extensions. When's the AI going to take our jobs? Probably not anytime soon. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of quality of life enhancements, but I think all the CEOs that are banking on AI replacing a lot of their low-level employees are sorely mistaken. And I also feel like it's going to be very similar to a lot of the outsourcing craze that was happening during a lot of the 2010s. And I mean, it still happens this day either. But typically what happens here, and usually whenever it comes to like outsourcing IT positions, what a lot of companies do is they look at the money, right? And they see how much their current IT org is costing, right? And they realize that, hey, this is for X number of employees, right? And then they say, oh, well, you know what? For this same money, we can get 3x employees from some other company or from some other country, typically. Usually it's India, the Philippines, a lot of those kind of Pacific nations in there. But the problem is they don't realize that a lot of times these folks, you're not getting 3 times the return for it. So yeah, you might be spending less money this way, right? So let's say you're saving one of these dollars and you've got 3 times the workforce, but they're not handling the task to the exact same level. And I see that a lot. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying that they're hiring for a volume that the skill set can't provide, right? They're like, oh, well, hey, we got 3 times as many people. It should be great. I was like, no, this is the same kind of thinking that says, hey, if you need to make a baby in 9 months, just get 9 women together. And it takes a single woman 1 month to make one. Then therefore 9 can make a baby in a month. It's the same kind of thinking, but it's fundamentally flawed logic, right? So there's plenty of talented people that I have worked with. I worked with a lot of teams that were based in India at one of my previous companies, and some of them were really skilled, but it wasn't skilled in the same. The number that were skilled were not the same as like the U.S. based employees. So yeah, they had a lot more talent to pull from, but it wasn't all balanced out. In fact, dare say it was a little bit more bifurcated. There were some really stellar employees, and there were some really crap employees in there. And because their budget stretches so much farther in those countries, it ends up not even averaging out. So then eventually what happens is they realize that all the productivity goes down because of that skill set mismatch. And then they end up re-onshoring everybody again. And then the cycle just usually kind of continues. They say, oh, hey, by the way, we're spending all this money. Let's save $1 and we'll hire 3 times as many employees. But then production kind of goes down because the skill set doesn't have nearly the same kind of level set. And it kind of goes in this loop like this. Like I said, and the problem is they think that they're hiring 3 times as many at the skill set of what your average American employee was, but that wasn't it. It was typically you had some that were very highly skilled, but you had a large chunk that were not. And so it averaged back down, usually even below that. If you can pipeline the process, it works. Yeah. Hamzard, what's up, man? I love reading the usernames. And hey, Klondike, what's going on, man? Welcome in, everybody. I hope you're all having a fantastic Sunday. I want to run this one more time because I feel like this should be working. I don't know if it was a fluke in the code here. Let me save some of this so it'll hot patch over into the server. All right, I think everything patched in. Let's go try this again real fast here. Let's try running the exploitation agent again. Submit. Skill over quantity? That's true, yeah. I'd say the average skill of a US IT worker is higher than a lot of the overseas workers. And then not only that, but a big portion of that is also there's a big language barrier that you've got to fight through, right? Because a lot of them they're proficient in English, but they're not native English speakers, and that does make a big difference, especially when it comes to communications. So you have that other kind of barrier kind of detracting from it. Like outsource PCB fabrication to one company, the assembly to another, cardboard box to the third. I know, right? Just combine all that stuff, man. Let's see. List indices has to be an integer or a slice, not a string. Okay, where did I screw up now? At least it died early, so we're not burning as many tokens. I think, so I started working on HackBot here in, I think, February. And since then, we've only burned about 40 bucks in tokens while doing all the development, so. So we did need that 0 in there. I wonder why. I didn't have to pull that out for any of these others. Yeah. I get that, Wrench, and I don't want to belittle a lot of the folks that are from other countries. What I'm saying is that you typically get a lot of folks... so a lot of the education that you see in a lot of the areas around the Pacific, and Japan is no exception to this, a lot of the education is based around memorization and not necessarily deep understanding. There was actually a big problem with this in Brazil. I was reading Richard Feynman's memoirs, and he was talking about while he was in Brazil, basically doing like guest lecturing. He had traveled down there, learned Portuguese even, and he had to break it to them that y'all are not doing physics. People are understanding things like Brewster's angle, which is the angle of light reflecting off of a surface. But they knew the rote definition, but they didn't understand the concept. And that's a lot of the education system that you see outside of the US. And then they try to pound that into the US side also. And like, hey guys, it's one thing to memorize certain things. There are some things you need to memorize. There are other things though that you need to understand the concept and how to build the answer from the concepts. Especially, I learned that the hard way in when I was doing my math degree, because there was some stuff that you did have to memorize, and so I tried very hard to bifurcate that knowledge. Like, okay, this is a memorize, or this is an understand. And so I always looked at it as if I had these pieces of information memorized, I could derive these other things by knowing the concepts. Cyberdan, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online, bro. I hope you're having a super stupendous Sunday. I was trying to think of another S word. English was not my strong suit. So I did need this here. But for some reason, this is the only time I have ever indexed it like this. I think I'm going to have to do a bit of overhauling on the browser agent in here. Dang it. It sucks because it's like, it's so close and yet it is so far. Wait, hold on. I think I realized where I might be screwing up on this. So we go to the task, we get whatever the current task is, right? And then we go grab the output for that task. I've got to go look at the state table again because I'm losing my mind. All right, so here's our exploit agent right here. There's our steps, that's why. We got to go pull the steps out. I'm also working on a Golang project for verifying emails for phishing. Oh, nice, dude. Dude, I'll tell you this, though. So in the time that I've been in penetration testing, email defense has definitely stepped up its game, which is a good thing because the primary way that a lot of bad actors were getting into these environments was through social engineering. Now, as with anything, the attackers have also gotten a lot more creative as well. So I always caution people that if you do not like cat and mouse games, like, oh, well, we're going to do this, now we're going to do this, back and forth, where it's one side is always trying to one up the other and find an edge, you're not going to like security. Let's see. When it comes to your core specialties, you can outsource anything else, but not that. So if you think about it that way, you can see outsourcing is a good thing done right. So when you would outsource everything or the part of a company that specializes in, that's true. Yeah, your core competency you don't want to outsource. But CEOs who manage by Excel, they want to outsource everything and they don't care to whom. That's true. Yeah. That's why you need to have a CEO that kind of really understands the business. Has time to like go dig into it. But honestly, a lot of CEO pay is so massively overblown, and their compensation package is based on just usually stock performance, because a lot of their compensation is in stock or stock options. They don't necessarily give a damn. Should I add AI to the phishing verification email? Yeah, do it. Yeah, and then they get the golden parachute. Yeah, it's been kind of wild. If you look at like what's the multiplier of CEO pay versus like employee pay, it's gone something like this. So like if we graph this out, so let's say like this is your let's say like this is your time value, right? And this is in decades, right? And let's say this is your multiple here of like what's the multiple that the CEO is getting paid versus like your average employee. It's just gone like this recently. It used to be somewhere, I think around, I want to say it was around 10x at one point, and I think at the last value I saw, it's 33. It's some ridiculous value, whenever you look at like what their total comp is. And so if this person's up here making 33 times your average employee, right? And a lot of their compensation is based off of how well the stock performs. They're not going to really give a damn what's happening to those employees. They're just going to try and boost the stock price using sometimes short-term dirty tricks. CEOs get their golden parachutes and they get frisky with the secretary, get paid hush money not to sue the company. What happened to the industry? They used to pay hush money to secretaries not to sue. Crazy. I know, right? I'm losing my mind here with parsing the state table. Yeah, so that's our exploit task right there. Yeah, I'm losing my mind here. So that shouldn't always be 0, because actually I remember why now. This output is actually an array because this one, see how it's status working in here? I remember why now. So the reason why this is set to status working is because this overall, everything is kind of layer. I'll diagram this out for y'all real quick. Hold on. So what's happening is this is like a nested Russian doll problem, except the dolls also go sideways. So what we've got is we've got a task list in here, right? So like we would have task 0, 1, ... So we're currently on task 5, right? So if we look at task 5, what do we have? Agent, whatever the status is, working, things like this. But if we look at this one, notice how we have additional information here. right? Like a pre-flight check. Actually, I take that back. We have all these are always going to be a task object in here. So this guy, do that. Go away. So this right here is a task object, right? And then underneath this, what we have is we have our output in here. And then our output is going to be a list of exploit tasks. And then inside those exploit tasks, right here, in the output from that, I'm sorry, in the output, we have the exploit task. That's a list of them. And then each of those exploit tasks also has their own status. So we don't want to go pull out 0. This was actually, this was a mistake in here, right? So over here, where we're pulling out 0, this is hard coding it to whatever the first task is. The whole reason that this guy right here is a list is because we might have multiple exploits that we want to try and say, let's say we have 3 potential avenues to exploit the target. Well, the first one might fail, so then we're going to go to the next one. So in that case, this status would have been failed, and we'd have an additional one in here. So output 1 that would come through with it. That was a reference to the HP CEO case. I don't think I ever heard about that one. Ah, all right. Let me make a note in here. We need to fix this. So this one's a to-do. Fix to properly target task. Not 0. There we go. Oh, that was around 2010. I was neck deep in school and work. I worked full time and I went to school full time from around 2009 until 2014. So I was neck deep in getting after it mode at that time. All right. Unfortunately, guys, let me just do that real quick. Unfortunately, that is where I've got to wrap it up for tonight. I have to actually go back to work tomorrow. Let's go see who's on InfoSec streams. Just us. Usually that's how it works. But if you guys have not seen InfoSec streams, let me drop this over here. Hey, comrade, what's up, dude? Unfortunately, you're coming in just as we're wrapping up the stream, man. We're trying to find somebody over on Twitch to go raid out to. So if you have any suggestions for that, please feel free to shout them out. And Klondike 7000, thank you for coming online. And Outcast Wander, thank you for coming online. Thanks for coming to hang out, everybody. I really do enjoy getting to chat with y'all and see your hot takes, especially Hats. He's got some good ones. He's pretty smart for a Fed. Let's see. Who do we have online that we might be able to go to raid out to? Braythorn's online. He's always fun for a raid. Furball Farm? Okay, let me go look them up real quick. What are they streaming? Oh, that's the cat rescue, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, actually, you know what's funny is I sent that to a friend of mine because he fosters cats and he's real big on that. So I actually sent that to him and he thought it's great. He keeps the stream up all the time because I think you sent me that one before. Let's see. Let's see if there's anybody else we might be able to go raid over to real quick. Let's see, Adam's on. Nothing there. Who's over in Science and Tech? I know Arduino's on, but he's also about to get off on this time, so he hates it whenever I raid him last minute. You know what? Braythorn's on. I think we'll go right over to him because he's always doing fun stuff building PCs. If I had the budget for it, I'd build one too. There's never enough cats. Dude, you're gonna hate me for telling you this, but you know cats are an invasive species, right? Cats are straight up murderers. Not saying I don't like cats. I just like other people's cats. I like when I like go pet them and snuggle them and then give them back. All right, guys. Unfortunately, that is where I've got to wrap it up for tonight. Everyone, tomorrow, some of you, it's already Monday. For everyone else, it is starting Monday in the morning. Get after it. Get to crushing it. You guys know how it goes. Who's going to carry the boats? Red team. Who's going to carry the logs? Blue team. Do me a favor. By the way, over on the Twitch side, when you get over there, drop some Cookie Monsters and Happy Hackers with a good old Hack the Planet. Boop. All right, I think that. Sorry, I got distracted by a message real fast. I had lost what I was doing. Well, I just got to start the raid too. I'm brain cooked. I got to get out of vacation mode. I had a really great vacation, but I got to get out of it because tomorrow was crushing it mode. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic week. News stream is going to be Wednesday nights now, so I will catch up with you all Wednesday. I got some interesting news stories that popped up last week while I was on vacation. We're going to hit those, and it's going to be a good time. So everyone, get after that. And I want you all to remember one very important thing, which is I love you. Peace.